Week, and we're joined now by a very special guest. We had her on in the first half of the show to discuss the headlines, but now we're going to be talking to her about her bid to become Miss England. Good morning, Isabel, again.
Good morning, you okay?
Yes, I'm not too bad, thank you. So, we've already spoken to you this morning, but it'd be great if you could give us a bit more of an introduction about yourself and how you ended up becoming Miss Black Country.
My name's Isobel Lines. I'm 20 years old. I've been competing in Miss England for about 4 or 5 years now. When I was 16, it was something that I just saw advertised and was like, yeah, I really want to do it. I was really interested in modelling and sort of saw it as a way to get in there, get in the industry and get involved. So I took part in Miss Black Country when I was 16. And I didn't do very well, but I got through to the semi-finals. And each year I sort of just carried on and got that little bit further and did a little bit better each year. And last year my aim was to become Miss Black Country, and I competed in the Midlands heat and finally got the title.
So, a lot of people will probably have heard of the Miss Black Country and the sort of Miss England competition. But what exactly comes along with being Miss Black Country? What sort of duties do you have, and has that been impacted in any way by the pandemic? I imagine it has been.
Yeah, so you have rounds that you work towards in becoming Miss England. We have rounds like the publicity round, getting yourself out there, promoting causes and campaigns that you want to work with. The charitable round, which is a really big one for me, is that you work with charities that are close to your heart and things that you want to work with and hopefully later gain a career in some sort. We also have work where we are able to present ourselves on a TV presenters round, and we just do lots of work around the community. And in terms of how lockdown has affected it, a lot of people would say that it has been harder and it has been a completely different climate to what we usually compete in. But it's all I've much preferred it. There's been a lot more opportunities available if you really were looking for them.
What would you say have been some of the opportunities or charities you've worked with or organisations you've supported that have really stood out to you on your journey so far?
I think this year especially, from 2020 to now, in the first lockdown, I worked with the Midlands International Aid Trust in distributing essential PPE to nursing homes, Acorns Hospice in Warsaw, and got to work with them really closely. I then, in June, became the chief ambassador for an organisation called World Against Single-Use Plastic, who look towards reducing plastic pollution. I got to go to schools within the Black Country. This was all during the pandemic, so I was kind of putting myself at risk, but it was just opportunities that came that I didn't want to let go of. I went into schools and did presentations on why individuals within schools and pupils are the changing force in like saving our planet at the moment. They're going to be the ones that really make the difference.
And you've also mentioned that this will be your final year competing, I believe, because you want to go on to pursue your career path after university. Two questions. What would that career path be? And has your sort of journey competing in Miss Black Country and in these heats and rounds and talking to the organisations that you have impacted your future journey in any way, would you say?
100%. My career option at the moment that I want to pursue is becoming a physical education teacher. It's completely different to what I'm like currently doing now, but and you wouldn't think that there's a correlation between becoming a PE teacher and being Miss Black Country. You wouldn't see the similarities, but it's helped me so much. I remember in December I was doing my interviews for getting that teaching job next year, and there was things that just transferred straight over. So from my work with the Riding for the Disabled Association in Worcestershire meant that I got nominated for the BBC Sports Personality of the Year, which then massively transferred over to becoming a PE teacher and why that school should choose me as their candidate for next year.
That's absolutely incredible. And by the sounds of it, this role is incredibly time consuming in the best way, of course. But has it left you any time amid university work and amid all of this sort of work that you're doing with these organisations to pursue other interests alongside of that?
In a career sense, do you mean?
Either in a career sense or just in your personal life as well. I've just always been very curious as to when you sort of get one of these roles. It's a very public role. You're out and about a lot, doing a lot of things. And I was just wondering how much time you're left for yourself, really.
Yeah, in terms of sort of gaining a new career perspective, PE teaching has always been what I've wanted to do. However, completing my dissertation and working very closely with Papyrus in the West Midlands, who are a charity that work for suicide prevention, I've realised that PE teaching is the start of what I want to do. I want to be able to work really closely with schools and changing the curriculum to make it more applicable and inclusive to support both children with SEND and pupils who are experiencing both mental health and mental wellbeing concerns.
And one of the things I was also very curious about is the sort of stereotyping that comes around these sorts of competitions, that you see in the movies and things like that. People sometimes think that there's not, a lot that goes into getting this role and working within the capacity of the role. So can you tell us a little bit more about how it, over the years, it's become more of a multifaceted thing and how it just sort of how you perceive it to be?
I think Miss England especially, it's completely different to the other pageant systems. It's the longest standing one. We do the fancy, ball gowns at the finals, but in the build up to the finals, aside that one night where you literally wear a dress, it is all hard work. Potentially you are judged based on your build up and you get interviewed on the night, and you have to have enough context and enough work that you've done independently to be able to talk like this and to say, I've done this. You aren't going to get judged on what you look like on the night if you've got no defining embodiment behind you, if that makes sense.
And so the final's on June 24th, I believe. So you've still got a little bit longer to go. What's going to be your sort of preparation? If you're writing your dissertation alongside of that, and you've got all the university stress too, I imagine it's quite challenging to be getting everything in line.
It's so hard. My dissertation is due in 2 weeks. I think I spent about 2 hours crying about it yesterday. I think at the moment I am concentrating on my university studies, and there's a lot more that I do want to be doing for Miss England. But I think because we've had so many pushbacks because of the pandemic, we've had a lot longer in preparation anyway, which means I actually did a lot of the work last year when we was actually in a complete global crisis. And I think that makes the value of the work a lot more valuable than work that I could be doing now.
And as you said, you've been competing in this for a few years now. And so I imagine it's been a very big part of your life, essentially. What would you say to any young people listening that perhaps are interested in getting involved? Would you recommend it?
Honestly, do it. Aside, you can't knock yourself until you've done it. I think when I look back at school, I always said I was very, very confident in school. I was always getting in trouble because I don't know, I was very, very confident. It's almost too confident. And typically people that sort of take involvement in the pageants are the ones who are too confident. But as soon as I was put in this completely different environment of pageants and Miss England, I wasn't as confident as I thought I was, and there was still a lot more to progress about myself. I've matured in a completely different sense than I thought I was mature before. And I've also developed myself to be very independent and sort of know exactly what I want from life. And yeah, it's just completely changed me, and you wouldn't think it went from an outsider perspective.
And before I let you go, because I imagine you've got a lot more dissertation work to be doing and a lot more prep to be doing, how can people find the pageant and vote for you and support you as Miss Black Country going into Miss England?
So very closer to the time, there is a Miss England app, and you can vote for me. It's completely free. When you download, you get a free vote, and you can vote for me by searching Miss Black Country on the Miss England app.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for discussing the headlines. And I'm sure everyone here at Black Country Radio will join me in wishing you the best of luck for the final.
Thank you very much.
Now, don't go anywhere, because just after the break, we'll be speaking to Tim Wright, an expat living in Spain near Gibraltar, about the legacy of His Royal Highness Prince Philip overseas.
Black Country Radio. GHR takes a different approach.
Thanks ever so much, Isobel.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day and good luck with your dissertation. Oh my God.
Thanks,
staff handbook and policies, redundancies or business restructuring, managing employees' performance or absence.